Walters is hosting the ultimate Nats watch party this Saturday night at 6 o'clock while the team is in Philadelphia. An exclusive raffle will be held. Prizes include a pair of tickets and $25 gift cards to the concession stand.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Here's the pitch to Holiday. Swinging a line drive, base hit center field. Kowser rounding third, he's coming home. Young fires toward the plate. The throw is way offline and cut off by Chaparro. RBI single for Jackson Holiday. Baltimore gets the insurance run and leads it 3-1.
Yesterday we signed all our coaches back for one more year, and I think it's awesome. These guys have worked really hard every day, try to get these young guys better. They've done a great job, so I'm really proud of them, and I wanted to bring them back. So working really hard with Riz and ownership. They also felt the same way about these guys, so they're all coming back, so I'm excited about that.
And welcome to Nats Chat for Thursday, August 15th, 2024. Along with MASNsports.com Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman, who was at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. It is not often that something that is said by Nats manager Davey Martinez during his pregame session with reporters proves to be bigger than the actual game, but we on Wednesday got just that. Davey, during his pregame session with reporters on Wednesday afternoon, dropped a bombshell. His entire coaching staff will return for the 2025 season. Yes, the entire staff is coming back. Wednesday was August 14th. The Nats' final game of this regular season is on September 29th, but we on Wednesday afternoon got the declaration that the Nats' entire coaching staff will return for the 2025 season. And it's not like this is something that is going to happen. This is happening. Davey said that the contracts have been signed. We have a lot to talk about with that. The Nats did then lose at the Orioles 4-1 on Wednesday evening for a split of a two-game series, despite starting pitcher DJ Herz allowing just 2 runs in 6 innings. The Nats for this regular season now 55-66. This installment of the Nats Chat podcast brought to us by Table to Mat, which you can count on for all of your nutrition and personal training needs. Table to Mat offers virtual and in-person nutrition services and personal training to the DMV area. You can email at Table to Mat directly through Table to Mat's website, tabletomat.com. You can call Table to Mat 240-388-2206. That's the word table, the number 2, MAT.com. We will get to the Nats' 4-1 loss at the O's on Wednesday evening. But, Mark, I take it that you were as surprised as the rest of us when it came to Davey dropping this news on you guys on Wednesday afternoon?
I'll put it this way, Al. I think the best way to show my reaction and my level of surprise to this is to quote the great Clark Griswold from Christmas Vacation when Cousin Eddie just showed up at his house, asked Clark, "Hey, you surprised?" And Clark's response is, "Surprised? If I woke up tomorrow with my head sewn into the carpet, I wouldn't be more surprised than I am right now." I did not see this coming. Nobody saw this coming. Not necessarily the outcome of everybody returning, but the fact that they did that now in the middle of August with a quarter of the season still to go. I thought at minimum there would be some discussion at the end of the season, some meetings with the front office and Davey, and some real serious talks about how things have gone where they think things are going and if they think any changes need to be made. Again, didn't mean that any changes would be made or not. But I never in a million years thought this would be resolved by now to this extent like that. And based on the reaction to my tweet this afternoon, I think it's safe to say that fans were not just as surprised as I was, but the vast majority were not necessarily in support of this decision happening right now.
Well, I think a lot of people wish that as Chevy Chase has disappeared from public life, so too would Darnell Coles disappear from his job as Nats hitting coach. Before we get to the Coles aspect of this, I think the number one question I know I have, and I think a lot of people have, is what you just alluded to. Why now? What was the urgency to arrive at a decision on the coaching staff for next season? What would have been the harm in, I don't know, waiting to see how the rest of this season goes before committing to the coaching staff beyond this season?
To hear Davey talk about it, he basically is just saying that he didn't want these guys twisting in the wind for the next 6 weeks. He felt like they have done a good job. He felt like continuity is important, not just for all of them, but for the players and specifically the young players who are now working with them, and to not have thoughts in their mind of that maybe there's going to be a different voice, a different message next year. Whether you agree with any of that or not is one thing, but I understand what he's saying. And having, chatted with a couple of the coaches after the fact, they were taken aback by it too, but really appreciated it. And I know that they were kind of sweating it out themselves. And the life of the big league coach is not as glamorous as you think. They don't get paid that well, aside from a handful of the really best ones out there. And most often they don't have a lot of job security. Certainly this staff did not have that either. And so when you're on a team that's losing games and struggling in certain aspects, you get to this time of year and you're very much worried about, where am I going to be next year? Do I have job security or not? And so again, whether you agree with it or not, I think there is a certain level of humanity in Davey really pushing for this to get done. Now, he said he went to Mike Rizzo a little while ago, said he wanted to do this. He had Rizzo's blessing. They went to ownership. They said, yes, go ahead and do it. And so on Monday, the off day, he met with all the coaches. He told them. And then on Tuesday, before the game, the first game of the series against the Orioles, they all signed their contracts. And I don't know that I remember another scenario quite like this, where it was done this far in advance, especially for a team that, while they certainly have made progress, and we can discuss how much they have or have not, it's pretty rare that an entire staff would not just stay together, but not really even have any question going into the end of the year about whether they would be staying together for another season.
It is crazy, too, when you consider the reality that the Lerners have a reputation for dragging out negotiations and not being proactive when it comes to re-signing non-players. I mean, even non-players, but like specific to Mike Rizzo and Davey Martinez and other coaches. When have we ever seen this? Like in season, coaches being re-signed by the Nats. I just can't get over the fact that there are 6 weeks left in the season and the Nats have decided that everything's dandy. I mean, I don't think you can say that at this point. I don't know how, if you're being honest and objective, that you can say that maybe everything turns out to be fine and dandy, but I just don't know how we can say that. And I do think that you just hit on something that is key, because look, I saw the reaction on X to this news, and it was not favorable, okay? I got a lot of entertainment reading the responses to your initial post on X of this news. But, this sentiment of, well, it pays to be Davey Martinez's friend. This is not just a Davey call. This happened with Mike Rizzo's blessing. This happened with ownership's blessing. So, yeah, like Darnell Coles is Davey's guy, but this doesn't happen if Mike Rizzo doesn't greenlight this happening, and clearly he greenlit this. And I think that's interesting too. Like, Rizzo obviously agrees with this, and I'm just surprised by that. I don't understand what the harm would have been in waiting on this.
Yeah, it is just very counter to the way that this organization usually operates. I think that's why it's so shocking in a lot of ways. And you're absolutely right. And for those who think that this is just Davey on his own having the authority to do this, no, Mike Rizzo has the final call on something like that. Now, he gives Davey as a manager, and certainly as a veteran manager, the authority to make suggestions and to say he wants to do this or that, and he'll hear him out. And, I think for the most part, he will side with him on that stuff. But there's nothing that says he has to greenlight it. There's nothing that says he has to say, hang on a second, we're still, a quarter, 3/4 of the way into the season. We still got 40 plus games to go. Let's see how the rest of the season plays out. We don't know what the next 6 weeks are going to be like. Who knows? It could be good. It could go great. It could go awful for them. It could go somewhere in between. So yeah, that part of it, I think it's important to note that this only happened because the GM said yes, and then ownership said yes. Now, I don't know from ownership standpoint if there's that much to it, because I don't think any of these guys are making big time money that it would, be a case of like they would say, no, we're going to get rid of this guy because we need to have some cost savings next year. I don't think there's anything like that. But yeah, given the track record of how they usually do drag things out, it is pretty remarkable that it would happen. And again, this happened prior to their game Tuesday night when they looked great, scored 9 runs. This was before that. This is entering the series. So this is really not a reaction to any particularly recent development, but just the broader scope of how they have done this year and how they feel like they have progressed as an organization.
And again, the contracts are signed. This isn't like we are planning on bringing people back or we have agreed with our coaches for them to come back. We have put pen to paper. The contracts have been signed.
The only caveat to that would be that Major League rules would require, if another team came calling and wanted to interview somebody for the manager's job, that they would have to let them do that. And secondly, like a promotion, like if Sean Doolittle was going to get an offer to be somebody else's pitching coach, or Chris Johnson got the opportunity to be somebody else's hitting coach, they would have to allow that and then break the contract. But otherwise, no, there's no backtracking. There's no, hey, if they go 10-30 the rest of the way, they can't say, no, on second thought, no, we're not going to do that, at least not without paying them their full salaries for 2025 now.
Man, it just is such a whopper. So look, when it comes to like pitching coach Jim Hickey, pitching strategist Sean Doolittle, bench coach Miguel Cairo, okay, I think there are compelling reasons to say those guys are trending toward being worthy of being brought back. The big item, of course, is the hitting coach Darnell Coles. And we've talked about him previously. So just to sort of set this up, this is Darnell Coles' 3rd season as the Nats hitting coach. He was hired as their hitting coach in October 2021. As we have said, we don't know exactly what he is and isn't advocating. We don't know how much the Nats' lack of, power is due to Coles versus due to the talent on the team. We do know that the Nats have been really bad at hitting for power over Darnell Coles' 3 seasons as hitting coach. The Nats, for the 2022 regular season, were 28th out of 30 major league teams in home runs. The Nats for last regular season were 29th out of 30 major league teams in home runs. The Nats for this regular season are dead last in the majors in home runs. So the trend has been downward, not upward, when it comes to hitting home runs. You also have something like, and we have hit on this, the Victor Robles scenario. And oh, by the way, Robles just got a contract extension. The Mariners announcing that on Monday evening. But with Victor Robles, it's important to understand what has happened here, okay? And we'll see if his success with Seattle lasts. But it's not just that his results are so much better. His batted ball data has surged with Seattle. His bat speed has increased. He's hitting balls hard in a way that he was not hitting balls hard with the Nats. And this has happened instantly. It's almost like Seattle saw something and instantly pounced on that something and corrected that something. And that does not reflect well on Darnell Coles. Now, that's not to say that Robles' struggles here were Darnell Coles' fault, but you do have to wonder about that. The Mariners get their hands on Robles, and right away, he's swinging faster, he's connecting with balls harder, and he's having these results, the likes of which he had not had with the Nats in years. So obviously, Davey Martinez and Mike Rizzo are seeing something in Darnell Coles that a lot of other people aren't. So that's what I want to try to get to here. What are we missing here? What are Mike and Davey thinking here that the rest of us seemingly are not thinking?
Well, Davey was asked point blank about the lack of power pregame, and that you alluded to there, and it has been pretty much stagnant for 3 years. It's not like that has gone up and then shot down. No, it's pretty much been the same all along. And he gave a pretty forceful defense of Darnell Coles. And he didn't necessarily mention him by name, but he made it clear that he believes that they are properly preparing these guys every day to hit. And he put it on the players to be better.
You coach the players, the best of their ability. A lot of times people forget, the players have to perform. That's the biggest thing. You can't take a guy that hits 2 home runs, 3 home runs a year and expect that he's going to hit 20.
Now, that's a pretty strong statement from a manager who doesn't often say things like that. If you want to really interpret that, you could read that as him saying, hey, the GM hasn't supplied me with enough guys who have power potential. And in some ways, he's not entirely wrong about all of that. Now, he did say also that, especially with young players, it can take a few years for them to get that. And he does feel like their young hitters have, over the course of the last year or two, shown real signs of progress in their hitting approach, in, as he always talks about, using the big part of the field, in swing at the right pitches. Their chase rate is down to some extent, and I think they have really harped on that. It's not great for everyone, but I do think you look at C.J. Abrams' improvement, Luis Garcia's improvement, certainly what James Wood has done in a short amount of time here in the big leagues, and say, okay, those are all good, positive developments and improvements. Now, you can also point to Keibert Ruiz, who had a bad game on Wednesday, by the way, as somebody who has regressed and is not seeming to take whatever coaching advice he's being given and putting it into practice. So there's that end of the spectrum. Just real quick, on the Robles thing, you could counter that with, have you looked at Lane Thomas's numbers since the trade? He's not done well at all for Cleveland. Now, is that because their hitting coach isn't as good? No, I don't think it's anything like that. There's different reasons for all of these things. So I do, to some extent, agree with Davey that it boils down to players in the end. You can talk all you want about the coaches being responsible for the performance, but in the end, it's the talent of the players. Now, it's up to the coaches to get the most out of those players. Have they done that here? I think that's still very much up in the air. But as we've talked about, there are guys who have made progress. You do see signs of things, but it's also hard not to look at, number one, the inconsistency day to day. And this last 2 days were the perfect example of that. 9 runs one day, 1 run the next, and very few good quality at bats in this game. You look at the fact that they've been shut out 13 times this year, which is tied with the White Sox for most of the majors. You don't want to be tied with the White Sox for anything this year. And, you know, they're isolated cases, but they've been no-hit each of the last 2 seasons after having never been no-hit in the first 18 seasons that they existed. So put that all together, there's obviously a case there to say, can we do better at hitting, and can there be a better message being sent? But the belief among them, at least, is that the message has been right, and it's up to the players to implement that a little bit better.
We shall see. I will say about this what I said about the Nats not trading Kyle Finnegan. I hope the Nats don't come to regret this. And I do think that the coaching here does take on even more importance because of what's happening, right? C.J. Abrams, James Wood, Dylan Cruz is coming, Brady House is coming. You want to surround these guys with great coaching, not bad coaching or even mediocre coaching. Like, you don't want a hitting coach who's mid, right? You want someone who's smart, who's progressive, who's forward-thinking, who's going to really, truly maximize what the Nats have in Abrams and Wood and Cruz and House. You want a scenario like what you had with Kevin Long and Juan Soto, where this great talent in Soto really takes to his hitting coach and really feels like that hitting coach is best for him and gets the most out of him. Now, maybe that will be the case with Darnell Coles, with Wood and Abrams and Cruz and House. But I think that is so important, man. You have these premium talents who are either already here or who are coming. You want to surround those guys with excellence in terms of coaching, not coaching that is subpar.
And the key to this all, it puts, I think, even added pressure on next season for real improvement, and not just in wins and losses, but in the young guys' performances. Because if James Wood doesn't take off, if Dylan Cruz doesn't take off, if C.J. Abrams or Luis Garcia regresses in any way, there's going to be increased pressure now on Davey, who's technically going into the final year of his contract. He has an option for the year after that. And all of these coaches who will be in technically the final year of their one-year deals as well. And so if the bar is being raised next year, if they truly are saying that they believe they can contend in 2025, then I do think you have to start holding everybody to a higher standard. And if halfway through the 2025 season, it's not working, you have to be willing to face some tough questions at that point and potentially have to make changes mid-season if you think there's still enough time to turn it around and actually make something out of that season.
Yeah, now is not the time for this conversation, but there is going to be a lot of pressure on this team to do well next season. I think people can swallow this season as being a continuation of the rebuild and the team not quite being there. I think next season it's go time to win. And I think if the team doesn't win and doesn't do well, I think you're going to see people fired. I think Davey will be out. The coaching staff will be out. I think Mike Rizzo could be out.
Swing for the fences this summer and hire Table to Mat for all your nutrition and personal training needs. Being healthy and having fun do not have to be mutually exclusive. Table to Mat specializes in making healthy lifestyles enjoyable and sustainable. Are you experiencing headaches, stomach discomfort, or want to lose weight? Find out how your food choices and exercise impact how you feel physically and mentally. We offer virtual and in-person nutrition services and personal training to the DMV area. With over a decade working in our fields, we bring experience and passion to help you be the best version of yourself. You can email us directly through our website at tabletomat.com or call us at 240-388-2206. That's the word table, the number 2, MAT.com.
Walters is hosting the ultimate Nats watch party this Saturday night at 6 o'clock while the team is in Philadelphia. A pair of racing presidents will be on hand for photo ops from 6 to 7. First place in the raffle wins a signed C.J. Abrams jersey and 4 Champions Club tickets.
For those interested in learning a new language, whether it be Spanish, French, or something else, check out Babbel. Babbel's 10-minute lessons are quick and handcrafted by over 200 language experts, ready to get you talking about your new language in just 3 weeks, because talking is the key to really knowing any language. Designed by real people for having real conversations, Babbel gets you talking. With over 16 million subscriptions sold, Babbel's 14 award-winning language courses are backed by a 20-day money-back guarantee, so no pressure. Here's a special limited-time deal for our listeners right now. Get up to 60%, that's 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for Nats Chat listeners at babbel.com/natschat. Get up to 60% off babbel.com/natschat. Spelled BABBEL.com/natschat. Rules and restrictions may apply.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
1 ball, 2 strikes with 2 outs. Herz fires, swinging a chopping ground ball left side, fielding it, moving in Abrams, on the run, throws to first, in time for the out. And for the second time in DJ Herz's big league career, he has finished 6 innings. Very nice performance tonight here in Baltimore for the rookie DJ Herz.
Well, the Nats did have a game on Wednesday evening. The result was a loss, a 4-1 loss at the Orioles for a 2-game split as the 2024 installment of the Battle of the Beltways results in each team winning 2 games. The Nats in this game did not do offense well. Just 1 run, just 5 hits, which were 2 doubles and 3 singles, 3 walks, 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position. The game became a pitcher's duel. DJ Herz for the Nats, Dean Kramer for the Orioles. And what was disappointing from a Nats perspective, Kramer has not been doing well, but the Nats were unable to do well against Kramer. Just gave you the overall team offensive numbers for this game. James Wood off his great game on Tuesday evening. He on Wednesday evening as the Nats starting left fielder and number 3 batter, 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. C.J. Abrams, he is the Nats starting shortstop and number 1 batter, 0 for 3 with a walk, a stolen base, and 2 strikeouts. The Nats' 2 doubles did come from Alex Call. He did not do well in Game 1 of this series. He did quite well in this Game 2. He is the Nats starting right fielder and number 7 batter, 2 for 4 with an RBI double and another double. Call and the Nats 1-run second to 2-out opposite field RBI double off the glove of Orioles right fielder Anthony Santander on the warning track on a 1-2 pitch to cut the Nats deficit to 2-1. Santander failed to make a running catch before crashing into the wall. And then Cole in the top of the fourth had a 2-out double to left field. Also, Andres Chaparro. No, he did not have 3 doubles in this game. But how about the 2 walks that he drew? He was the Nats starting first baseman and number 4 batter. He went 0 for 2, but he had 2 leadoff 10-pitch walks. Chaparro in the top of the 6th, a leadoff 10-pitch walk despite having been down to the count at 1.12. He then was thrown out in an attempted steal of second base, and Chaparro in the top of the 9th drew a leadoff 10-pitch walk. But beyond Cole and Chaparro, not a lot happening for the Nats offensively in this game.
No, and a complete opposite of what they did on Tuesday when they hit the ball so hard. And we've been talking about this several times. It's like you can tell early on if it's going to be a good night or a bad night for them offensively. They clearly were on Trevor Rogers on Tuesday. They clearly were not on Dean Kramer on Wednesday. There's that little bit of a hint of something in the second after the call double, but then Ildemaro Vargas grounds out to end that inning. A chance for something else in the fourth after the next call double, second and third, 2 outs. Ildemaro Vargas grounds out on the first pitch to end that inning. And then that was basically it for them the rest of the day. And, it speaks to the larger question we're just talking about. The inconsistency of them day to day offensively has been maddening at times. We have seen they are capable of being a good lineup on any given day, but it just feels like it has to be the right matchup. Something has to click. And when it does, it clicks for everyone. And when it doesn't, it's like nobody remembers how to hit. And to watch these 2 games and say that was the same lineup in these 2 games, it doesn't feel like that at all.
Well, the biggest bright spot for the Nats in this game on Wednesday evening was their starting pitcher, DJ Herz, who you could argue right now is the most reliable starting pitcher for the Nats. I mean, his last handful of starts have gone quite well. Herz in this game, 2 runs in 6 innings. He gave up 4 hits, which were a home run and 3 singles. He issued 2 walks. He recorded 5 strikeouts. He threw a lot of strikes, 85 pitches, 58 strikes versus just 27 balls. His last outing was in a lot of ways marred by rain, but take a step back and examine now what has happened with DJ Herz in recent weeks. So he got sent back to AAA Rochester July 8th to July 23rd for what was basically a break. He's since being recalled from Rochester on July 23rd, has the following stats: 5 starts, ERA of 3.04, 27 strikeouts in 23 2/3 innings. That translates to a strikeouts per 9 innings of 10.27. He gave the Nats some length in this game, going 6 innings, and he lately is on a nice run here.
It's been really good to see him come back from that break like this. And for me in this game, the real key to it was that he kept himself efficient enough to give himself the chance to go deep. It's only the 3rd time he's reached the 6th inning now in the big leagues, and only the 2nd time he's completed all 6 innings. And, in theory, he could have kept going. I don't think they wanted to push it beyond that, but he was still at 85 pitches, I think, after 6 innings. So that was really nice to see. Efficient. He grooved a fastball to Gunnar Henderson in the first and it got destroyed. But after that, he didn't let that affect him, struck him out the next time. There was a lot of poise on the mound and some emotion from him too. When he got that double play, he kind of hopped off the mound. When he finished the 6th, he was really excited. That was good stuff. And for a guy who I think the biggest fear since we've seen him has been, do you really know which version of him you're going to get on a given night? The fact that there's a little bit of consistency here from him is a great sign. And maybe if he can keep that up, that does make you think that he's turned a corner there and they may have something to DJ Herz.
Yeah, and so when we talk about Jim Hickey and Sean Doolittle, Herz, Mitchell Parker, Jake Irvin, you feel really good about with what has happened this season for sure. But awesome to see Herz doing as he is doing. The Nats bullpen in this game, 3 Nats relievers officially combined to allow 2 runs in 2 innings. Robert Garcia officially allowed 2 runs in a third of an inning. He had a 2-run 7th for the O's faced 4 batters, but got just 1 out. He issued back-to-back 1-out walks to Kobe Mayo and Colton Cowser and gave up a 1-out first pitch RBI single by Jackson Holliday to center field for a 3-1 Orioles lead. Jacob Barnes officially tossed 2/3 of a scoreless inning, and Eduardo Salazar tossed a scoreless bottom of the 8th with 2 swinging strikeouts despite issuing a leadoff walk and giving up a 2-out single. Boy, Robert Garcia, and this is true of a lot of relievers I know, but when he's on, he looks great. When he's off, he's quite off. He generates strikeouts. If he could just be on more often, the Nats might really have something in that guy, but he's just too unreliable.
Every time I think, boy, looks like the real deal. He has one of these outings where, walks back-to-back hitters, and that's just a recipe for disaster. And I don't know what to make of it other than it's really hard to throw strikes sometimes in the big leagues in big spots. He's going to keep getting chances, obviously, given what their options are You'd just love to see a little bit more consistency there. And really, if you get yourself into trouble, you got to learn how to get out of that, how to throw a good quality strike, get a ground ball and a double play, something like that, instead of, in this case, giving up the RBI single, and then all of a sudden he's out of the game, and then an inherited runner comes in to score after he's departed. That's a step for him he's still going to have to take. And I don't know if he'll get there or not, but I do think there's been enough good from him to say, okay, you want to stick with this, see if he can find some level of consistency. Because as you said, when he's on, he's really been on.
And he can pump strikes and he can produce strikeouts in a manner in which not many Nats pitchers, starters, or relievers can.
Tim Shover is here to tell you about Game Time. Shows this September at the Anthem in DC include Kings of Leon, Ringo Starr, and Weezer. If you're interested in finding tickets to any of these shows, make sure to check out the Game Time app. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you the complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code NATSCHAT for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code NATSCHAT for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Hey guys, Al Galdi here for Window Nation. The 2024 MLB trade deadline may have passed, but that doesn't mean that there isn't still a great deal to be had. Window Nation, for listeners of the Nats Chat podcast, is offering a sensational deal. 2 free windows for every 2 windows that you buy, plus pay nothing with no interest for 2 full years, plus you get an additional $250 credit. Call 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com and tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast. Window Nation windows are outstanding. Window Nation is the true window expert. Window Nation's professional installation teams have over 10 years of experience. Every Window Nation window undergoes a 50-point inspection before leaving the Window Nation factory. 866-90Nation or windownation.com. Take advantage of this offer for listeners of the Nats Chat podcast. 2 free windows for every 2 windows that you buy, plus pay nothing with no interest for 2 full years, plus an additional $250 credit. 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com. That's 866-90Nation or windownation.com, and tell Window Nation that Al Galdi sent ya.
Hey, Nats Chat, want to tell you about Mint Mobile's premium wireless package starting at $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/natschat. That's mintmobile.com/natschat. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/natschat. $45 upfront payment required. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigs on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Here's your minor league report for the games played on Wednesday in AAA. Dylan Cruz 1 for 5 with a single while playing right field out of the leadoff spot. Brady House a single and a double while hitting third and playing third. Joey Meneses 0 for 4 but did score a run. Down to High A Wilmington. Harlan Susana got the start, struck out 7 in 4 2/3 innings pitched. Did issue 5 walks and allowed 4 runs, though. And dropping down to Fredericksburg, Travis Sikora. No-hitter for him this time. 4 2/3 innings on the mound. Allowed 4 hits, a pair of runs, issued 1 walk, and struck out 5. Now back to the show.
Now Kramer sets. The lead for Garcia at first with 2 out. The 1-2 pitch swung on and line to right. Santander going back to the warning track. Reaches out, has it in the glove, pops out. He slams against the wall. Garcia's being waved home. The throw is offline, and he will score. as the catcher Rutschman had to go way out to catch the throw to the left of the pitcher's mound. And in at second is Alex Call. Nationals on the board. It's the Orioles 2 and the Nationals 1.
So next up for the Nats is going to be a mighty interesting series, a 4-game series at the Philadelphia Phillies Thursday through Sunday. Now, if you look at this and you don't know much, you say, well, the Phillies are the first place team in the National League East. The Phillies, for so much of this season, have had the best record in the majors. But the Phillies lately have not been good. The Phillies, since the All-Star break, are just 8-16. The Phillies got a win over the Miami Marlins on Wednesday, 9-5. That win snapped a 4-game losing streak. So we know Citizens Bank Park, that can be a hitter's haven. We know the Phillies have plenty of guys who can hit home runs. We know in recent years the Nats have not done so well against the Phillies. But when you talk about perhaps catching a good team at a good time, maybe, just maybe, the Nats are heading to Philly at the right time with how poorly the Phillies have been playing lately. We'll see.
Maybe so, although I'm thinking to myself, if I'm the Philadelphia Phillies, I'm saying, hey, here's our chance to get it back on track against the lowly Nationals, as I'm sure they would consider them at this point. So this is a big test for the Nats. Can they handle the environment at Citizens Bank Park, a team that's starting to feel a little bit desperate and is probably going to pull out all the stops to try to win these games? Do the Nats have it in them to deal with that, to hold on, to show they can win some tight games? They're going to play some of these pretty meaningful games now the rest of the way against some good teams. And look, against the Orioles, they more than held their own. Split the series, split the season series with them, actually outscored them in the series by 5 runs. The Phillies, you're going to see a little bit more of them. We know how potent the lineup is, especially in that ballpark. They're going to see both Wheeler and Nola in this series. I think this is a big test for them. And it's up to them to show, I think, right from Thursday, from the first game of the series, that they aren't just going to be pushovers and they aren't going to get the Phillies back into the swing of things, and that they're actually going to put up a fight here and maybe keep the Phillies and their fickle fans from enjoying the rest of the summer.
Game 1 of the series Thursday evening at 6:40. Mitchell Parker will be the Nats starting pitcher. He'll oppose Zack Wheeler. This installment of the Nats Chat podcast brought to us by Table to Mat, which you can count on for all of your nutrition and personal training needs. Table to Mat offers virtual and in-person nutrition services and personal training to the DMV area. You can email Table to Mat directly through the website at tabletomat.com. You can call Table to Mat 240-388-2206. That's the word table, the number 2, MAT.com. You can hit us up on X at Nats_chat. You can email the show natschatpodcast@gmail.com. We have a website that we invite you to check out, natschatpodcast.com, in which you can purchase a Nats Chat podcast t-shirt. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. We thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat podcast.
We were gonna call, but Eddie wanted to make it a surprise.
Yeah. You surprised? Surprised, Eddie? If I woke up tomorrow with my head sewn to the carpet, I wouldn't be more surprised than I am right now.
Drinking and driving is a decision that could change your whole world. Things will never be the same if you ever get a DUI. Because legal fees and time in court are just the beginning. Getting into a crash is another way that your world can be turned upside down. Your vehicle may not be the only thing that gets damaged in that crash. You can face a life-altering injury or even death. But you're not the only one that can face those consequences. Your decision to drink and drive can permanently impact not just your world, but someone else's world as well. Whether you injure them or leave their loved ones grieving. The next time you're out drinking, call a rideshare, a taxi, a sober friend, or a designated sober driver. The only decision that will change your world for the better is the decision to call for a sober ride. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.